Hello, my fellow Trollops. Let us gallop into the next 20 chapters. This is chapter 41 to 60, which might not be 20 chapters, but I'm an English major, so what would I know about with them math? So yes, Phineas Finn is the character in Phineas Redux, the fourth of the Pallister novels, and indeed is considered a sequel to Phineas Finn, number 2 in the sequence of novels, even though, as we will see in this book, it all is a continuous story. It's all the whole Marvel universe of the Victorian era, where yes, and you've heard it all before in my other videos, and if not, go back to those ones, or better yet, go to the read along Captain of the Hounds. I guess that makes me a hound. A very goofy, terrible at picking up the scent hound. Go to our Master of the Hounds, Steve Donoghue, who is leading this read-along of Phineas Redux, and indeed has done all of the previous novels as well, and our videos are well worth seeking out. So yes, I was saying about the luck of the Irish, basically, in the last thing of, wow, I was liking Phineas Finn a lot better, but oh, I can't believe that he's ever going to get in any serious trouble. And then we have these 20 chapters. First, let me get some housekeeping out of the way. Yes, on one of the other kind of plot threads, we have Adelaide Pallister, who wants to marry George Mall, who, is not a very put together guy. I sort of compared him to Lord Chiltern at one point, but actually Lord Chiltern is a lot more forthright, and he would have punched his father for not letting him use the family seat, even if he wasn't using it. And of course, the rival in this, there has to be a love triangle, because it's Trollope. They love triangles. Before Twilight, there were love triangles. We have Mr. Spooner, who is this aged, I think he's probably in his late 40s, which, makes me feel very old. Darn you, Trollope. A red-nosed, kind of beefy dude who's like, I've got lots of money. He very much reminds me of in Can You Forgive Her, the prosperous farmer there's like, well, I'm wealthy enough, so come on, marry me. It's like Mr. Romance himself. So yes, we have all that happening in the background. We also have the start of a couple of legal things. We've got the Browborough trial, which Browborough was Phineas's competitor in the election, where, it was basically shown, Phineas was able to show that there was bribery on his opponent's side, therefore, he could get in, and indeed he did get in, and now that they've decided, anti-corruption, so we're going to take this up as a trial, except none of the politicians on either side want to see this prosecuted, because a lot of them just don't see that it's actually a bad thing, that there's corruption and stuff like that. It's like, when, this is not going to get prosecuted. And indeed, Browborough gets off, and Phineas Finn gets kind of cast as a bit of the villain in the piece, and the people of the town seem to love Browborough, this basically rich guy who's spread his money around and has not the political thought in his mind. He's just basically a functionary who votes whatever his party wants him to do, very much the cog in the machine, which a lot of MPs in a parliamentary system, speaking as Canadian, you sometimes feel that that's what your member is basically a cog in the machine of the party. You're not really voting for the dude. That aside thing. And so we have that legal thing, and then we have Mr. Emilius and Lady Eustace, which, boy, this is where you get the whole thing of the continuing story. We last saw Mr. Emilius and Lady Eustace in the Eustace Diamonds, where at the end, Mr. Emilius married Lady Eustace. And in this book, the marriage has turned out very poorly, which was not a surprise. Lady Eustace is trying to separate herself from the thing, and through her friends, Mr. Bonteen, a political rival of Phineas Finn, is trying to basically find out, like, he's cast as he's this Jew from Bohemia, a convert Jew from Bohemia, and we think he's got a wife there, and we're going to try and get him for that. And there is I can't keep on bringing this up. There is definitely the thing of a part of what makes him kind of a villain and this terrible character is that he is Jewish. However lightly Trollope does it in comparison to other people of the era, you definitely notice that as a modern reader. And so, he's trying to separate it, and indeed they're having this whole battle through the thing. Now, Mr. Bonteen is also quarreling with Phineas Finn at the same time, because Mr. Bonteen is a political rival of Phineas Finn, and basically looks like he's going to get elevated to the cabinet, and but on the other side, it looks like Phineas Finn isn't going to get in because these rumors about him and Lady Laura are getting spread around by Quintus Slide, and Mr. Bonteen is just quite delighting in this, and talks rather openly about Phineas Finn and his dalliances with ladies, or a certain young member in the club, the Universe Club. And unfortunately, he says that while Phineas Finn is walking in, and Phineas Finn takes offense, and they very publicly quarrel. And at the end of that chapter, it's like, well, Mr. Bonteen kind of just slips by and goes walking off, and Phineas Finn's like, oh, I hate that dude. I wish we could duel, because then I'd shoot the bloody fellow. And he's like, and at the end, he's like, he pulls out his, I think they call it a life raft, or a lifeboat, which is basically, it sounds like it's a bludgeon, which he carries for protection, because indeed, in the earlier novel, he had witnessed Lord Kennedy get jumped by garrotters. It's not safe in the street, so he's got his thing, and he lifts it up, and he's like, laughs, and goes upon his way, walking about the same direction as Mr. Bonteen. Cut to the next chapter. Dun dun dun. Mr. Bonteen is dead. He's been bludgeoned to death. He's been bashed over the head by what very much looks like this bludgeon thing. And indeed, Phineas Finn is one of the two suspects involved. The other one being Mr. Emilius. Surprise. Trollope really is masterful at juggling all these people, all these different plot threads. It's like, God, he's, it's like, and the problem with it is that Mr. Emilius has an alibi. He was at this place. He was not seen he was at his lodgings. He wasn't seen to leave his lodgings. He didn't have the key, apparently, or something like that. And even more damning, Lord Fawn, call back again to the Eustace Diamonds, he being engaged, and then very unwillingly attached to Lady Eustace for a while in there, says that he saw a figure not unlike Phineas dogging the steps of Mr. Bonteen. So it's looking really, really, really bad for for Phineas. And indeed, he and Mr. Emilius get imprisoned. And in the end, Mr. Emilius's his alibi seems to hold up, so he is released, and it's Phineas Finn who is in jail, and we get Phineas Finn doing hard time with caviar and cigars and all the worldly goods apparently he could want. Though I mean, it's still imprisonment, and he's still basically, if he gets convicted, it's death. And not only that, Trollope is extremely good in all these things he did this in the Eustace Diamonds as well, basically showing how everyone talks and how everyone gets things wrong and makes assumptions. And it's basically people think, yeah, Phineas Finn did it. Yeah, Bonteen had it coming to him. He was like a kind of a rotten fellow. He was like, an upstart fellow, and he deserved to get his head bashed in, basically. But oh well, I guess Phineas Finn's guilty, and that seems to be the assumption that I guess it's interesting. We've got the suspects. We have the Irishman, or we have the Jew, and this seems to be the thing we're going to go with, the Irishman. So there's all the gossip and stuff like that in the will, and then we have and I think this is a part of the thing of I enjoy the info dumps, or not. I don't know if it's info dumps. I enjoy the chapters on politics. I'm also enjoying the kind of the chapters on just sort of politics, and not politics, on the law, the politics, and now the law. We've had the Borough trial, the Lady Eustace, and kind of trying to prove bigamy. So that's a good way of getting out of marriage. And now this one with it's murder, and they're really great because they've got the lawyers going. It's like, well, don't you believe? They've got all the interesting parties, Lady Laura, Madame Goesler. They're all passionately, we believe in him. He's true. And it's and they kind of turn to the lawyers and the attorneys and barristers. It's don't you believe? It's no, we just look at the facts, and we go by the facts, and by them at the moment, circumstantial evidence proves that it's very kind of by the books, and it's a good procedural stuff for it's good procedural stuff for this. And indeed, at the end of the chapter, we get this wonderful thing with Mr. Wickerby and Mr. Chaffanbrass, the barrister, and they're kind of going through the thing. And actually, you know what? They do the interview with Phineas Finn somewhat reluctantly, because it's like, look, either he's going to say he's not guilty, which of course he's going to say he's not guilty, or he's going to say he's guilty, and then it's going to just handcuff me. It's like I most of the time, I really don't want anything to do with this fellow, the accused, even if I'm going to defend him, because it's not really up to me whether he actually did do it or not. It's my duty to try and get him off, to go make sure that the law is followed properly. And though Phineas, when they come to Phineas, Phineas is like, yeah, no, I don't care if those 12 guys on the jury don't think I'm guilty or not. I care if everybody in the country does. He's very much, I don't want anyone to think that I would do such a thing. And the worst thing is, he does have that sense of, except for his particular very close circle, everyone thinks he's guilty. And that's quite devastating for him. But it's a part of this rehabilitation, I don't know, or growth of Phineas Finn. He's not coming at it from the, oh my God, I want to escape. Kind of, I made fun of him for, like, oh my God, he got shot at and he was afraid. It's like, duh, you'd be afraid. That's a very natural human response. But I think if I was in jail, I'd be like, I don't care who thinks I'm guilty. Just get me off, man. Get me off. I'd be like that. Where Phineas Finn very much is, no, look, I don't care if I'm found guilty and I'm hung. I just don't, I want the day after I am hung that everyone knows that I am not guilty. I did not do this. Which is like, oh, wow. My respect for Phineas Finn grows. But I also just really loved these legal guys, and it's like, oh, in a later age, you can see Trollope be writing crime procedurals or something, or detective novels. I said that with Lady Eustace, and they have this at the very end of chapter of the chapter 60, after the barrister and the attorney, or the other fellow, have come from their visit with Phineas Finn, and Mr. Chaffanbrass talking says, "But I often feel," continued the barrister, paying no attention to the attorney's last remark, "that my work touches the heart more nearly than does that of the gentlemen who have dealt with the matters of property and high social claims. People think I am savage to witnesses." "You can frighten a witness, Mr. Chaffanbrass." "It's just the trick of the trade that you learn, as a girl learns the notes of her piano. There's nothing in it. You forget it all in the next hour. But when a man has been hung whom you have striven to save, you do remember that. Good morning, Mr. Wickerby, and I'll be there a little before 10. Perhaps you may have to speak to me." And I love that. Trollope's really good at just capturing this guy who's like, I'm going to do my damnedest. And it does touch me. This is a tough job, and people think kind of the worst of me is being kind of someone who is a lawyer and just kind of really cutting to the chase, being very savage. I often I wonder if part of this is Trollope, and talking about how he cuts to the chase and can be rather savage with his characters as well. That there's a little bit of a likeness there that the novelist is seeing in these legal characters, of saying, I'm here to dissect things, I'm here to sift things, and it's not going to be always pleasant, and you're not always going to like me. Killing Mary Flood Jones. Oh, how dare you, Trollope? You are savage. I'll let it go. I'll let it go for just this one time. So yes, that's us up to chapter 60 in Phineas Redux, and next I will be back with the final 20 chapters of the book. So yes, more videos later.